What is up, everybody? I'm Alex from the Whole Health Collective.
Hey Al, I'm Bridget. I'm 5D Health. Welcome everybody, whoever's listening, whoever will be listening. Welcome back. It's been a while, Al.
It's been a while, but I am happy to be here.
Me too.
And today we're talking about something that might seem a little bit shocking based on the title, but once we dive in and Bridget dives in, this is like her wheelhouse. You're really good at talking about this topic. Um, I think it'll make a lot more sense into the state of the world and what's really going on, what's been going on.
Yeah, so the topic today is the rise of the divine feminine. And I don't know how you want to start it. Do you
Well,
want
what
to?
is, yeah, I guess just maybe we should start by defining what that means and
So,
versus what people think it might mean, right?
mm,
Like you see the word feminine, you think feminism, maybe that word seems a little bit abrasive to some people, but what is the rise of the feminine versus feminism?
so the way I look at it is in the world today, we're seeing something that we haven't seen in ever. I mean, ever I've never seen it, and I believe it's a new thing going on, where women have stepped into the roles of sharing their ideas and perceptions and their thoughts and their experience with the world. Um, so you see all over social media. You know, you got Instagram, TikTok, Facebook Reels. There are women all around the globe from all different areas who have a channel, who are broadcasting their divine feminine. We have a voice, which is something that I don't think, you know, was really heard before. And I think our system and our society has been lacking a, feminine energy. We've been living in a patriotic system where women in the past didn't really have a voice, or their ideas and their perspectives didn't really get listened to. And now we're seeing like this huge breakthrough where it's unstoppable,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. Especially like with social media today, right? You open up your feed, you could be anyone and everyone, you can make your voice be heard through the internet.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
I mean, before this, like before social media and all of that, like think back like 50 years, right? The women were stuck at home, like whether they wanted to be or not, like that's where they ended up. And then you think back, like they women wanted a change, right? So women started, working full time and being single mothers and having the courage to do that and then bring social media along. I think it was like the perfect formula, right? For this to happen.
Oh yeah. I don't know. It's all like divinely orchestrated, in my opinion, of how the rise of the feminine has come up. But I think it's beneficial to everyone. I mean, when you think divine feminine energy, you think intuitive, very sensitive, nurturing,
Mhm.
loving, compassion, empathy. Um, all those things I think have been like just put to the wayside for a long time, and now things are starting to be brought back up, and people are, you know, integrating those principles into their lives because we're learning from women. You
Right.
know, I know for me personally, like I had a very masculine energy growing up. That's the way I was raised. That's the way I was taught, and I didn't really understand how to handle my emotions, or use my emotions to my advantage. Like I just knew to suppress. And I don't think that's just like a personal thing. I think that's like you know a collective thing where we've been taught to suppress our emotions and taught that emotions are bad and to hide them and avoid them, when I think what we're seeing now is people using their emotions and their passion and their energy, um, in a positive way. So and this is what we've been lacking, you know.
hmm
Our
I've seen stuff like about men who show emotion, right? It's like they're not masculine or things like that. Like I see that all the time on Twitter. Um, do you agree with that? If a man is more emotional, then they're more feminine, or like what? Like where's that line?
I don't believe that at all. I believe if men are emotional, they're human and they're real and they're authentic, because as human beings, we all have emotions, you know, but most of us were taught to suppress them and avoid them. So, no, I believe that it's a totally healthy thing. It's like a healthy masculine to embody your emotions and feel them and use them. So,
Yeah, I agree with that too. I like when I see a man cry or something, it feels different. It feels brave. It feels strong. Like it doesn't feel
yes.
like what I read about, like,
Right,
you know?
right, right. Absolutely. I think the same thing. Like when I see men cry, I feel like that takes a lot of courage and a lot of like authentic being. I don't know. It just, I know it's probably really tough to be a man and cry it, you know, but I see a lot more people letting their guard down and just letting it be
Right.
because it's beautiful. And I feel like that has to do with the help of women
Women,
and
yeah.
being able to speak and use their voice. Everyone, like women have found their voice, and like I said, it's unstoppable. They're sharing their ideas and their, you know, experience in their life and how they've healed and how going forward and just getting super creative. Um, you know, it can go anywhere. Like I see on online stuff like TikTok and Instagram and stuff, and all these entrepreneur women who are just creating something from nothing using
Mhm.
themselves, and that's it, you know, and like going after what they want and getting it. And we never seen that before.
Right.
So it's incredible.
hmm Yeah, I definitely take notes on those people, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, right. Me too.
Goals.
Me too. Yeah. Hats off to all of you, even the men,
Mhm.
men and women doing it. I mean, but
Mhm.
men have always been able to create and, um, you know, build and
Provide.
provide. Right, exactly.
I've
Bring home
heard
the
like
bread.
yeah, I was just gonna say more women becoming the breadwinners. Like there's more of
Never.
that today than ever.
Right. Well, I mean, I think what happened is, I mean, not just single moms, but there's a lot of that going on where women have taken on the role of being a single mother, and that does something to women. And
Mhm.
you have no choice at that point but to
Mhm.
learn to somehow provide for your children, play the mom role and the dad role. You have to bring, so that's how I have been, you know,
Mhm.
living in that masculine energy, playing that masculine role. Um, so I'm in the process of like bringing out my divine feminine because it's been dormant for a long time.
Mhm.
And what I mean by that is I feel like being more sensitive and nurturing, especially to my children, um, and intuitive, using my intuition, getting in touch with my emotions, actually trusting myself, using my voice, speaking up, embodying courage, like all of
Mhm.
these things that I never thought that I could do, but that's my feminine coming out, you
Mhm.
know? It's about
And
that.
those are just overall great qualities, right? Like that I strive for, and I think everyone should strive for that.
Yeah.
Um it's interesting, like I never really thought of like the emotion or not the emotional, the intuitive side of things as like a feminine energy. I
Right.
just I just haven't really classified it as that, but it's interesting when you put it that way. Like I kind of agree
Hmm.
with that. Who said that?
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's, you know, women are only intuitive because both men and women carry masculine and feminine energy inside of
Mhm.
us, every single one of us. Just like I said, I lived my life and with more masculine energy for a long time. But so men also have feminine energy inside of them, and a lot of men are also very intuitive. I don't think
Mhm.
it has anything to do with like gender.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what
yeah.
I mean?
Right. It's just about being open to it.
Absolutely. Open to trusting yourself, you know? Um, and I think that comes with a lot of healing, though, because our wounded selves um, will make terrible decisions, and we can't trust our wounded
Mm.
intuition. Like, it doesn't,
Yeah, that's
you
true.
know?
That's not even we're not even acting as our divine like as our authentic selves at that point, right?
Yeah, it's out of a wounded part and a triggered part, and it takes healing, it takes work, it takes a lot of growth in order to like be able to trust your intuition and trust yourself and like really, believe in yourself.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've done so much work, and I wouldn't be here today being able to talk about any of this if it weren't for other women in my life who have led me and guided me and taught me everything that I know up until this point. Because that's what I needed. I needed it like a divine feminine energy to teach me these things that I never knew so that I can embody them in myself because they're always been here inside,
Right.
but I was so out of touch with it. But
Mhm.
it's
And
not
when you're
having,
not seeing it in practice with whoever's raising you, like you're emulating that energy or protecting yourself based on their energy. And if it's not safe enough to be that feminine, open, emotional little you, then you're only going to put walls up and that masculine energy is going to pent up.
right, exactly. Yeah, I just feel like, especially with my kids, like I see it a lot with them in their childhood of how it can affect you so deeply to suppress your emotions and not like express yourself and not be seen and heard or listened to, you know, like all that just gets swept under the rug, but it's not, it's under this rug, this body, and it
Right.
stays with you. And I
Mhm.
can see that in my children, which the mistakes that I've made in my past by parenting, um, of and trying to correct those now, like at a young age, it still
Mhm.
affects them. You know, I have a 13-year-old and 8-year-old, and so the 13-year-old has seen a lot more and been through a lot more than my 8-year-old. So I feel like my 8-year-old is kind of like she's better at just kind of like expressing herself. Like
Mhm.
she feels safe to do that, and when she's a very emotional, both of them are very emotional and sensitive. And I feel like I've created a safe space for the younger one to be okay with sharing how she's feeling.
Mhm.
The older one, Brookie, I feel like I missed that mark with her, and we're working on it now. And
I
she's
was just
grown.
gonna say it's never too late because how old were you and how old was I when we,
Right.
felt
Yeah,
safe finally doing that, you
exactly.
know?
Right. Yes, it's not too late. No, but she's getting
Yeah.
a lot better with it, and um, yeah.
It's tough growing up like in middle school and
Mm.
with social media now, I'm sure.
Oh God, it's a whole new world,
Yeah.
and it makes you feel like this is totally off topic, but it makes you feel like a bad parent.
Mhm.
I know I'm not the only one who probably feels that way, but when you see your kid just like giving their whole life and time and energy to, you know, the social media and the games and the iPad, and I just feel like their childhood is just flashing
Mhm.
before their eyes. And as a parent, I try to make them do other things and go
Right.
outside, have some fun, but it's
Mhm.
like this is their thing,
That's what they
you
want to
know?
do.
Yeah. So it's like a battle. I don't know.
Mhm. You
But
do a
yeah.
pretty good job though. Your kids like playing outside. Shay does.
Yes, she does. She
Yeah.
does. Brookie, I'm really talking about Brooke
Yeah.
because she's older now. So,
Yeah.
but that's the thing with them, kids,
Mhm.
that's what they like. It's a whole
Mhm.
new world.
Yeah. And it's like you talking about kind of not reversing, but bringing out Brooke's more like emotional side. And like you mentioned that you did that yourself, like you realized like you were parenting and you kind of turned into this masculine energy playing both roles of the father and mother. How did you make the switch? And like, was there a point where you realized that you lost touch with your feminine self?
Oh yeah, yeah. I knew that, but I didn't think that I could like get connected to that again. Or just, and then plus being a single mom, I was just like, gotta do this, gotta do that. This needs to be done. This needs to be done. Blah 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 blah. I'm not in the present moment. I was so unconscious, running on autopilot. Trying to just control them, using like punishment or fear or like some kind of, that's just the way I grew up. I didn't really know a different way. So I thought the kids were supposed to just listen to me and do what I said.
Yeah.
And, things were just getting worse and worse. And like the fighting was bad. And um, I finally realized that like I read this book. This book came into my life. I like was intuitively guided to read this book. Like have no idea why. No one suggested it to me. It's
What
called
book?
Narcissistic Mothers. And yeah, and reading that book, it was just like daggers to my heart. I just kept shots right at me. I was able to like boom, see myself for the first time. I'm like, how I was parenting and the damage I was causing. And, just had some of those traits from my old programming. And so I knew I was a problem. I knew it wasn't my kids that needed to change. I knew that it wasn't them needing to do what I say and change so that I could feel better. I realized
Right.
that it was like me, and it was the way that I was parenting. It wasn't working, and it was making things worse, and it was actually causing harm. So, yeah, I've been seeing a therapist for a while. She's incredible, and she's taught me so much. And she's kind of helped me deprogram that part of me and like add in a new part of me and get in touch with my feminine energy and my nurturing energy. And yeah, so it's like an everyday process of healing and growing and trying again, because I make mistakes, all the time. And really, it's all about just like being conscious, like being present right here and now with them, which is the hardest thing to do for me.
Right.
I don't know why. Like my body and my mind resist it more than I'm saying. It's always been missing for me. Like I see other mothers, and I'm just like, how are they just like naturally just like really attentive and compassionate and empathetic with their kids and just like touchy feely even, like
Right.
kissing and loving. And I just didn't understand why that was missing in me. And it wasn't ever missing. I just was never connected to it. And
Right.
so, yeah, it was really uncomfortable at first for me to try these things because I've never done them. And also own up for causing harm and trying to be better. So it's just like an everyday thing of being conscious and choosing that new program, which is like to be connected to my feminine energy and to be present and pay attention to them and listen to them and attend to their emotional needs in a nurturing way. And
Yeah, that's awesome. Because I find when I'm in touch with my feminine self, like I'm having like the conversations are easier. I'm more confident, right? Like my masculine energy is like literally me putting up a fight because of
exactly.
like my ego, or I'm hurt or I'm afraid, or like some defense is there. But when I'm really in touch with my feminine self, like people are attracted to my energy. Like strangers will look up and say, "Hey," when I'm like not feeling it and I'm more my masculine self, like no one will look at me. Like
Mhm.
even, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm really like can I notice that.
Mm.
I can really notice it a lot.
It's almost like a sense of like surrender. You just like let go and just like tap into who you really are and tap into that intuitive and alignment self.
Yeah.
So, and I just feel like this time as a collective, like our missing link and our missing piece was the voice of women, was the teachings of women, was the everything that we can learn from women by speaking up and like hearing other people's perceptions and them sharing their experience and them sharing their experience of growing and healing. Like, I've learned so much, and I feel like society is learning so much. Like, people are starting to take up different practices and try different actions, and none of that would have been possible if it weren't for these women who, stood up, had the courage to speak out, had the courage to try something new, put themselves out there, and use their voice and use their mind and their body and their consciousness to help the world, because this is what we need. And it's not a competition between men and women. That's not what I'm talking about at all. It is literally the missing piece that we needed that's coming here to create harmony between us, because it's been suppressed for so long.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. And I think like there are a lot of people who are open to that, you know?
Yep,
A lot of
absolutely.
that now.
And a lot of that, yeah. And you see men learning from women, which is really cool. It's awesome. Love it.
Women learning from men, men learning from women.
Us helping each other. We need each other, We need each other. What we need is connection. I feel like women is that feminine energy is that link to connecting us, to harmonize us. Because there's no competition. It's nothing about that. Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's been so much polarity like the past several years, like in our country and the world, right? And
Yes.
what if there was a little bit more compassion? What if there was a little bit more emotion?
Or understanding, like
Or
having,
feeling.
right, having empathy for both sides, like knowing that we all live in different perspectives. We see the world differently. We hear things differently. No two people are going to hear or see the same thing. We all think with our different minds. So, like, having compassion for the other people, even if you disagree with them wholeheartedly and it goes against everything you believe in, that's their belief. That's their life. That's their perception. That's what they want to live out. Like, having compassion and empathy gives you that surrender and that relief to, like, you don't have to battle. You don't have to fight. You can look at the person and say, I disagree, but I still love you and I appreciate your perspective.
I love that the most out of somebody, dude. I don't care if I don't want someone to agree with the same exact thing as me all the time.
Right.
I don't want to only hang out with people who only agree with what I believe in. Right. I literally actually don't want that at all for me. Right. And I've never wanted that, but a lot of people are super comfortable with that. I think that's a dangerous game.
Yes, because if you're in the game of growing spiritually, mentally, emotionally, we need people to challenge our ideas, challenge the way we think, challenge the way we're seeing things, switch up the perspective. Like, I need to hear outside unbiased perspectives of things that I'm going through personally to, get grounded and make better decisions. And that could be looked at as a global thing too, that we need that.
Yeah, we definitely do need that. I think we need more of that.
I think it's coming.
Yeah.
I think that's why this was brought up today, because it's amazing to see. It's incredible. I just know a lot of powerful, amazing women who have stepped into these roles, and they're successful and they're flying. And then there's a lot of women I know that are getting into that also, and we're all just following that lead, and that's exactly what we need to do.
Yeah, and I love it. It's like a little collective.
Whole Health Collective.
A little Whole Health Collective.
A little Whole Health Collective. Yes, ma'am.
But yeah, I think that, like, thinking about you from like a few years ago versus now, like, I definitely see more of like your feminine side coming out, and it's really sweet.
Thank God, because I need it. Don't get me wrong, it sometimes gets pushed away wayside.
Well, because we're human.
Right, we're human, and I'm still have some open wounds. I still have triggers. I still have old programming that sits with me. So yeah,
Well,
it's
and
like,
you don't want to be a doormat, right? Like
nope.
you don't want like I think that like that was also an issue back in the day is like women not having a voice like caused a lot of women not being able to talk or being afraid to,
Mhm.
right? And once you learn that you can have a voice, you can be assertive and kind at the same time. Just because you're assertive doesn't mean that you're an asshole.
Right. Yes. I'm learning that skill too, being assertive.
Mhm.
Like I didn't know how to do that before. It was either all or nothing. You know, I was either not going to
Yeah.
say anything or I'm coming at you.
And
You better
you better
watch
watch out.
out. Yeah, but I'm learning to be assertive, and I'm learning that that's like an actually healthy thing to do. And yeah, stick up for yourself. Don't take no shit. Don't take
Yeah,
no
no.
shit. Just because you are, I'm embodying my feminine energy doesn't mean I have to take no shit.
Yeah, and I think that's like another common probably misconception is like being feminine means like you're weak,
Right,
you're
right.
I don't know, there is a bunch of negative
When
words that come up when someone says you're feminine.
Right, right. But we just talked about it. Us personally
Exactly.
seeing men crying actually is like a sign of strength and courage. So we've got it all wrong. We've had it
Yeah.
all
Yeah, we have had it all wrong. And I
wrong.
think that the stigma is being broken, right?
Mm,
And I think mental health has something to do with it all because that's a big reason why people feel like they can't talk.
yes.
When we fix those stigmas,
Yeah.
there's more communication, and that's key.
Yes. Absolutely. When you choose um, the path of awakening and the path of change and growth, it's going to take you to look at yourself and do a lot of work. And if you're willing, it's not going to be a good path, or it's not going to be like an easy path. It's
Yeah.
challenging, but if you're willing to do the work, it actually works, and you will start to feel better, and you will grow, and you will become anybody you want to be. You can become anything. I truly believe that. So
I believe that too. I think it's sticking to it and doing your best no matter what and trying to keep that in the forefront of your mind. Like you said, you have to be awake to start. Like you have to be conscious of it before anything can change.
right, and be
And I realized that quick when I realized like I'm being so aggressive and rude that people don't even want to fucking be around me. And then it's like you got to look at hey, like what can I change here? Like I'm
mm,
not being soft
mm,
enough. I'm not being kind enough. I'm not telling them why I'm really upset and what's really going on. I'm not being emotional with them or vulnerable, so I'm just being bitchy
right,
and or cold.
right.
And
So you
I don't want to be like that.
Right. So you were kind of in defense mode, living with your masculine energy a little bit higher and kind of avoiding. But yeah, it
Yeah.
takes strength and courage to be vulnerable. And
Mhm.
but it also is good, like you said, if you're conscious and you're willing to look at yourself, because you can fix any problem that you have. Any
Mhm.
problem that you have that's on the
Has a
external.
solution.
Yeah, yeah, and the solution is always inside here. It's
Mhm.
never my outside circumstances.
Yep.
That's not ever the real problem. The problem is how I'm looking at it, how I'm feeling about it, and what I'm thinking about it.
Your
So if I
perception
can,
of it, yeah.
yeah, if I can bring it back to me and remind myself that I can actually do that and like fix the way I'm seeing things, which usually I need some help doing that. I need other people's ideas
Mhm.
to help me see that. Then, yeah, I can fix the problem by fixing how I feel inside. And there's plenty of things you could do to help
Mhm.
yourself, to help the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. And I hope anyone who's watching this kind of takes a look at like how's the feminine side of you doing, right? How's the masculine side of you? Like and if you are I don't know. Is there such thing as being too feminine? Maybe you need to incorporate more masculine in your life. I don't know what you need, but I think that these are qualities that are super important and also can be taken too far, right?
Mhm.
Like sometimes I could be like too much of a doormat or too aggressive, and I need to just keep myself in check. Who do I want to be?
Yep, exactly. Like I said, as long as you are conscious and aware that you have all the power inside of you to change who you are and what's going on, then you can do anything. So yeah, check in with yourselves, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. And just
Thank
notice
you.
how the divine feminine is showing up in your life and how beautiful that is and how it's a good thing.
Mhm. Yeah, you really put it so great. Thank you.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Namaste.
Namaste.
You said it right. Namaste. All right. We'll see you next time.